The radical power of showing up, how Black professionals are revolutionizing success through authenticity. Welcome to a conversation that will challenge everything you've been taught about success, power, and belonging. Today, I want to share insights that have fundamentally transformed my understanding of what it means to thrive as a Black professional in spaces that weren't designed for us this. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Jacquie Collins, a visionary whose work has fundamentally reshaped how we understand professional authenticity and community building among Black professionals. Jacquie isn't just documenting stories. She's catalyzing a movement that's sending ripples of transformation across industries and generations. Her pioneering approach has empowered countless individuals to reclaim their narratives and transform their workplaces from the inside out. What makes her work so revolutionary is her unflinching commitment to truth telling in spaces where silence has long been the unspoken rule. What I'm about to share with you today isn't theoretical. It's drawn from real stories, real struggles, and real triumphs that Jacquie Collins has documented and championed. These insights represent a profound shift in how we might approach not just diversity and inclusion, but the very essence of professional fulfillment and organizational transformation. We've been told a story about success for generations. It goes something like this: work hard, keep your head down, don't make waves, assimilate, and eventually you'll be rewarded. This narrative has been particularly pressed upon Black professionals who are often advised that the path to advancement requires becoming smaller, less distinctive, less themselves. But what if this conventional wisdom is exactly wrong? What if the very things we've been taught to hide, our authentic experiences, perspectives, and identities, are actually our greatest sources of power? This is the counterintuitive truth that emerged from my conversation with Jacquie Collins. The real revolution for Black professionals isn't just about breaking into boardrooms or launching businesses. It's about something far more fundamental and transformative: reclaiming our stories and showing up fully as ourselves, even when, especially when the world tells us to shrink. Let that sink in for a moment. Authenticity isn't a luxury. It's not something to be pursued after you've made it. It's a radical act of healing and power. It's revolutionary. Too often, Black professionals are taught that silence and assimilation are the safest routes to success. Keep quiet about microaggressions. Don't mention the isolation. Never let them see your struggle. Code switch until your throat hurts. This is the unwritten rule book passed down through generations, born from a place of protection and survival. But here's the stunning revelation: hiding our truth only deepens isolation and robs us and our communities of collective strength. The very strategy designed to protect us is actually undermining our power. Consider the story of Letitia Clark, founder of Pink Parachute Diaries. Letitia's journey began with a pattern she couldn't ignore: talented Black women receiving pink slips while mediocre men floated away on golden parachutes. But what struck her most profoundly wasn't just the injustice itself, it was the deafening silence surrounding these experiences. Each woman thought she was alone. Each believed her challenges were personal failings rather than symptoms of systemic bias. The isolation was crushing, not just emotionally, but strategically. It prevented collective action, blocked healing, and maintained the status quo. Letitia recognized that this silence wasn't just painful, it was paralyzing. So she built something revolutionary: an uncensored platform where authentic stories could be documented and shared, a space where the unspoken could finally be spoken, where isolation could transform into community. The results were immediate and profound. Listeners reported feeling seen, connected, and inspired by hearing others' journeys. The shift from isolation toward empowerment was palpable through hundreds of episodes highlighting trailblazers who turned adversity into opportunity. Letitia catalyzed conversations across industries about equity, belonging, and new models for professional success among Black women. This is the first key insight from my conversation with Jacquie Collins. Embracing authenticity is transformative. When Black professionals honor their full selves at work and beyond without apology, they disrupt cycles of silence that have kept generations isolated. This act of self honoring becomes revolutionary for personal growth and community healing. But authenticity alone isn't enough, it needs context, it needs community. This brings us to our second key insight: community over competition. In a world that often pits us against each other for limited seats at the table, building intentional spaces where Black excellence is celebrated allows for vulnerability, collaboration, and shared wisdom. These spaces counteract what I call the isolation tax that so many experience in predominantly white professional settings. Mrs. T's story illustrates this principle perfectly. Featured in the Building Intentional Spaces episode of Pink Parachute Diaries, Mrs. T spearheaded resource groups dedicated specifically to advancing Black excellence inside Fortune 500 companies. She recognized that existing diversity programs ignored the unique barriers facing high potential employees from marginalized backgrounds. The challenge was clear. Despite strong pipelines, there was a persistent lack of representation at senior levels. Microaggressions undermined retention and advancement efforts. The system wasn't working. Mrs. T's solution was brilliantly straightforward: foster intentional networking events and peer coaching initiatives tailored explicitly for mid career professional development needs. Create spaces where Black professionals could be fully themselves, share strategies, and lift each other up. The outcomes were measurable. Internal surveys tracked increases in employee engagement scores and promotions among participants. The group's membership grew fivefold within 2 years, while influencing broader company policy shifts around inclusion metrics. Most importantly, Mrs. T's work set new standards industry wide for supporting intersectional talent pipelines, not just hiring quotas. This is what happens when we prioritize community over competition. We create ecosystems where everyone can thrive rather than fighting for scraps and systems designed for our exclusion. The third key insight from my conversation with Jacquie Collins is perhaps the most powerful. Your story has power. Sharing your journey openly not only heals you, but also creates bridges for others who may feel alone on their path. Vulnerability can turn wounds into wisdom and inspire lasting change within organizations and industries. Persia McLeod's journey embodies this truth. Spotlighted in Pink Parachute Diaries, Persia faced environments where vulnerability was policed and authenticity punished. She lived with the constant fear of reinforcing stereotypes like the angry Black woman. The pressure to conform or remain silent was relentless. But Persia made a revolutionary choice. Instead of shrinking, she publicly embraced her full identity, including moments of struggle, as part of her leadership style. She encouraged others to do likewise through mentorship circles. She modeled transparency from positions of influence. The impact rippled outward. Her team experienced greater cohesion, more open dialogue around mental health emerged among colleagues. Persia built thriving support networks inside and outside work that helped other Black professionals find their voice too. The effect led not just individuals, but entire teams toward healthier cultures rooted in trust, not fear. This is the transformative power of story. When we share our authentic experiences, the struggles and the triumphs, we create permission for others to do the same. We transform individual pain into collective power. Now, I can anticipate what some of you might be thinking. This sounds risky. Authenticity is fine for those who have already made it. But what about those of us still climbing the ladder? What about the very real consequences of being too much in spaces that aren't ready for us? These concerns are valid. The risks are real. But consider this: what is the cost of the alternative? What is the cost of diminishing yourself day after day? What is the cost to your mental health, your creativity, your potential impact on the world? What is the cost to those coming after you who need to see models of authentic leadership that look like them? The truth is, there's risk either way. The question becomes, which risk would you rather take? The risk of being rejected for who you are, or the risk of never knowing what might have been possible if you'd shown up fully. This isn't about recklessness. Strategic authenticity requires discernment, it requires community, it requires support, but it also requires courage. And here's what's fascinating: when Black professionals take this courageous step toward authenticity, something unexpected often happens. Rather than the feared rejection, many find that their authentic presence creates ripples of transformation throughout their organizations. Their courage inspires others of all backgrounds to bring more of themselves to work. Their vulnerability creates space for more honest conversations about what's working and what isn't. Their unique perspectives drive innovation and problem solving in ways that homogeneous thinking never could. So, I challenge you today: how would your life and your workplace change if you stopped shrinking yourself out of habit? Imagine it. What would it feel like to walk into a meeting without the exhausting weight of code switching? What conversations might become possible if you shared your perspective without filtering it through the lens of what others expect? What innovations might emerge if your unique lived experience informed your problem solving? The revolution Jacquie Collins described isn't waiting for permission. It's happening right now in boardrooms and break rooms, in startups and corporations, wherever people have decided that the old rules of success no longer serve us. This revolution begins with a radical act of courage: the decision to show up as your full, authentic self, to speak your truth, to build community, to transform not just your own journey, but the very spaces you inhabit. I'm calling on you today to join this revolution, not tomorrow when conditions seem perfect, not after you've secured that promotion, not when you feel safe enough. Now, because the world doesn't need more professionals who have mastered the art of becoming smaller. The world desperately needs the unique gifts, perspectives, and wisdom that come when we have the courage to be fully ourselves. The real revolution begins when we stop asking, how can I fit into this space? And start asking, how can I bring my full self to this space in ways that transform it for everyone? That's not just a personal choice, that's a revolutionary act with the power to transform industries, organizations, and generations to come. The question isn't whether you'll take risks. The question is whether you'll take the right ones, the ones that honor your truth, build community, and create spaces where everyone can thrive. That's your challenge. That's your invitation. That's your revolution. Thank you.